achievers, high performers, whatever you want to call yourselves. This one's for you. It's Monday. I always want to drop a little gem or some sort of inspiration to empower you and to inspire you. Let's talk about the number one ingredient that all high achievers have. Creative people, entrepreneurs, leaders, go-getters, action takers, however you want to slice it. Just people handling shit, people doing shit, people getting shit. However you want to break it down, this is the number one quality and characteristics that I see, in historical icons, in high performers today, in circles, cultures, and communities where people are creating things of substance and creating movements, creating brands, creating businesses, creating something that adds value to a community. Those are the individuals that are going to relate to this. So just kind of breaking it down. The number one ingredient is its character. And within this character of a leader or of someone that's inspiring is their ability to see what other people can't see. So I'm going to pose this question because this video is not about me. This video is really about you. And if you take the time for the next few minutes, 5-10 minutes, or however long this is going to take, you should walk out of this video and then go reflect somewhere, unplug, do whatever you have to, and ask yourself, what can I see that others can't see? And what that means is, what is your vision? Because most people that are high achievers, great high performers on an athletic level, on a professional level, on a business level, these are people that could see something that other people can't. Because if other people could have seen what they can see, they would have created it, or they would have achieved it already, or they would go for it. So that's the true reality, is that most people aren't stretching themselves out towards what's truly possible. Number one, because they can't see it, right? A high performer, a high athlete, a business individual, an investor, someone that goes for something is because they believe that it's possible. And to believe that something's possible, they got to be willing to risk everything or invest or make some sort of sacrifice, and make an educated decision, and they're able to do that because they see that it's possible. They see that it could be done. So they're in the mindset of not what if, maybe, perhaps. They're in the mindset of it's going to happen, what could be, what can be, and finally, the highest state of consciousness is it will be, it shall be, without a doubt. And so this is a very faithful person, but, I don't want to digress, but to stay on topic, we're talking about a visionary here. And the number one ingredient is your ability to create a vision, to own a vision, to live out a vision. Your vision will evolve, your purpose, what you can see, what you're building, what you're creating here in your community, in your profession, in whatever endeavor that you're committed to, in whatever arena or landscape that you're creating some sort of impact, some sort of like tectonic shift that's going to shake things up, is you're creating something. So that I would ask you that's the question I would pose. It's like, what's your vision? And I think all of us can go deeper into their vision, which is connected to our purpose. And sometimes that evolves. But to really sit down and ask yourself, what can I see that other people can't see? And what's possible for me based off of all of my experiences, based off of what I've learned, good, bad, hardships, setbacks, comebacks. Put it all in a bag, and what do you see? Right? So obviously, everything that you've been through is going to create the character, your personality, your whole sense of self, your identity, the understanding of how you see the world and how you see yourself comes from, what you've been through. So what's the totality of everything that you've been through, and what does it all add up as far as the wisdom and experience and understanding, compassion, skills, gifts, talents, everything that the world has forced you through, willingly or unintentionally or accidentally, everything that you've been through, what does it all add up to, or what can it all add up to? So that takes a little bit of reflecting and looking back and understanding knowledge of self and understanding, what are my talents? What are my gifts? And perhaps being able to explore and surrender more to those gifts, to those callings, and say, I want to nurture more of these qualities. This is where my heart's at. I want to invest more in this area. I want to develop this part of my skill sets, my characteristics. When we look at all the attributes of your potential, what do those look like? Specifically. And when you start to really reflect and really see, well, what is the totality of all my experiences add up to? This is an individual that has substance and understanding of self, knowledge of self. And once you start to really see the potential of what those experiences can add up to, even though they're not in your reality and they're not in your presence, and even though your current situation is showing you different information, you can understand that that's not the full potential, and that's not the immediate end result. And so someone that has a high creative spirit, that has high potential, that has a lot of energy, that is very inspired and moved towards some sort of achievement, right? At being naturally an ambitious person, this is someone that can see beyond what's in front of them. So your ability to look at your relationship, your situation, your financials, your demographics, your environment, everything in your reality, your ability to look at it and say, yo, that's not like the end all be. That's just a stepping stone to where it could be. And your ability to live in the present and take responsibility and be held accountable for being where you're at currently today, and being at peace and grateful for that, but not allowing you to convince you that that's all that you are. Knowing that, hey, this is just temporary, and what matters is what I'm building, what I'm adding up to, and what I'm going to create because of what I believe is possible. So once you start to shift into that consciousness, into that perspective, then you start creating things, right? Because you're not in a low vibration of thinking ifs or what. Like your whole language, your whole demeanor, your whole energy changes. You're no longer in that doubtful, down spirit. Now you're like, hey, yo, this is what it is. This is where I'm at. It's part of the journey. Yeah, I want to be at better, higher places. But you know what? This is where I'm going. And whoever wants to ride with me, then let's go. Whoever wants to grow with me, shit, let's get on. So this character, this attitude is someone that's like, yo, this is what we can create together. This is what I will create. This is what I'm going to work towards, and I'm going to illustrate it first. So I want to touch on that first, is you need to become an illustrator. So to become a visionary, this whole topic, if you're jumping in, is about how do we become a visionary? Because having a vision is the number one attribute, ingredient that high achievers must have. If we look at like legendary historical icons, they all had a vision for this country. They all had a vision for what could be done, for what could be built, for what could be created, for what could be conquered, for what could be persuaded, for what could be anything, right? So that ingredient, before it manifested, before it became fruitful, before it became reality, someone had to stop and think and visualize and reflect and say, if I put these forces together, if I align this team, if I create this, because I have these talents. And so it's someone that's willing to work with what they got. They don't focus on what they lack. They don't focus on the resources that they don't have. They focus on what they do have and how they could work and conjure up that together to then create some sort of an idea. So the vision must have some compelling, inspiring, magnetic, attractive, alluring idea. And that's when you start to sell this idea, this product, this service. And no, this isn't a business little mini masterclass, because I love talking about business, but this information is timeless. Because to create value and to have some sort of an idea and something that has potential, right, you have to package it up in an intriguing, attractive way that other people are going to say, yo, that's a magnificent idea, or yo, I can see the benefit of that. Yo, I want to purchase that product. I want to, I'm on board. I believe in you. I see it in you. These are qualities that leaders have naturally, that when you enter a room, these are people that just naturally have the gift of like, yo, like, let's go create shit. Let's put a team together and let's go crush it. Let's go make this happen. All right. So naturally people are magnetic and drawn towards that energy because people want to be around other leaders that are guiding, supporting, and paving the way for the future. So to influence history, to influence your community, to make a great impact in the landscape, in your family, or in the culture that you're immersed in, you got to be able to look at the future and foresee what's ahead and utilize the tools that you have at hand to put something together to then first present the idea and propose and then communicate and articulate. So you're going to have to become a magnificent communicator and be able to articulate your ideas and express them, and also have an intuitive, receptive understanding of like, where's the future going? What's the demand? So this is economics, business, faith, spirituality, and be able to foresee and anticipate what the future needs. Because in a way, these great leaders, these high achievers, what they are is they are the future. So that's my question to you is, can you see the future? Because what the future needs is lots of faith and lots of confidence to build new things. That's how new economies surface, right? Whether it's like Apple computers or whether it's whatever, getting rid of fuel. Like, economies are triggered when there is by creativity. And so if you want to be a super high performer, I would ask, what does your vision look like? And it doesn't have to be on a grand scale, but I would say, hey, what does your vision look like for a family or a small business? Or what does your vision look like for your lifestyle? And what could be of what you know, right? And so looking at your past and all your skill sets and talents and all your gifts, to be able to acknowledge that is the first step. And if you're sort of in the not as mature step of where you don't recognize what gifts you have, or you haven't, like, life hasn't beat you up enough to move you and to break you or to inspire you, then you haven't lived enough. And usually if you haven't lived enough, and if you haven't, you're like looking for inspiration, you're like, what am I really good at? And you're kind of all over the place, and you're like, you've invested more time into what people have told you to create than what your heart has called you to. And so that just requires a little bit of purging and exploring, perhaps more. Traveling is a fast track to go find inspiration and to discover further degrees of who you are. So traveling, immersing in new cultures, learning a different language, just unplugging from maybe taking time off work or just taking time vacations. Do what you can, but try to get out of the routine of living other people's lives. So visionaries, what they do is they don't tolerate this world imposing their ideas and limitations onto them. So to be a visionary, naturally, it requires a very free spirit. Because to be a visionary, you got to first, number one, reject what this world is trying to make you become. Because the opposite of a visionary is someone that's like just retreats and contracts and accepts and then just reacts to what's given to them, right? If you don't become highly inspired, highly educated, and if you don't go pursue new great endeavors, this world is going to tell you what you're good at and what you should do and how you will be paid. So if you're not a vibrant, energized spirit, this world is going to tell you this is what you're worth and this is what you will do for a living, and this is what you need to do to have the resources for you to survive. and that's it. And it's kind of like living in a zoo. When you're kind of in the zoo, you're in the cage, and you're being fed resources, and you're not really free. So a visionary is a free mind that says, hey, you know what? There's life beyond these bars, beyond these cages, beyond these mental limitations. So to be a visionary, first you have to reject what this world is trying to turn you into, or what this world has created in you thus far. To be a visionary, you're going to have to think outside the box. And and visionaries have lived a lot, have experienced a lot, have learned a lot, they've had to rise back up a lot. So whether it's been a traumatizing, very traumatic event, or a huge loss, or some influence in their life that has greatly inspired them. Visionaries reject this world, and they live more in what could be, what will be, what shall be. They live in that confident spirit. And if you don't have that visionary quality, I would suggest taking some time off and lightening your load. Get rid of so much responsibility. When your plate is full of responsibility, work, and you can't see anything else but bills and living in this hamster cycle, then of course you're not inspired and anxious, potentially depressed, right? Because you don't have time to be spiritual. You don't have time to disconnect and to nurture the qualities of you that really matter, that create substance, which is fulfillment, purpose, service, connection. And you're going to have to nurture these qualities over time, because these are the qualities that come from your heart that tell you, this is what assigns meaning and passion to your life. And when you're just paying bills and doing what other people want you to do, you're not nurturing those qualities. You're just becoming what other people want you to become. And that's just how this world is. No shame in it. It's the modern world we live in. Is people got to do work so that we could live in a productive society. And if you're not clear what your dreams are, and if you're not clear what your purpose is, someone's going to tell you this is what your purpose is. And this is what you're going to spend 8 hours doing. So number one thing is to become a high achiever and to start creating shit, to start seeing the fruits of your hardships, to start seeing the fruits of what's possible, of what lies ahead for you, to step into your full potential. First, you're going to have to reject, perhaps rebel, or break some rules and say, enough is enough. And I see the costs. I see the cost, the emotional cost of not listening to my heart and not taking the time off to slow down and say, hey, what can I create? And sometimes it takes a pandemic, it takes a recession for us to reflect and say, do I want to pursue this career forever? What's beyond just what I do every single day? What could be? And start to nurture some of those qualities. Maybe if it's just starting for 5 minutes a day, start to play the piano because you want to infuse more music into your life, or whatever it is, right? But just start to slowly introduce new elements that are going to force you to see a new perspective. And once you start to see and live more of what and test your gifts and start to immerse in new paradigms, then from there you will start to create new information. So that's my suggestion, is to create a stronger, bigger, broader vision. You have to really assess and connect to who you are, what you can do, what you can offer, where is your value, acknowledge your worth, and then start to create an offering. And start there. Start to create an offering for others, to uplift others, to inspire others, to help others, whether it's leading, coaching, providing a service, kickstarting your small business, as small as it is, or maybe just helping someone. And then from there, work your way up to see, I could see the patterns of me fulfilling something larger. Me creating, my little puppy, me creating something that has more meaning than what this world is trying to force me into. Right? So it's thinking What this is people that live, be quiet, people that have great vision, they choose not to live in their limitation. They choose to live in a more expansive, abundant mindset. So it becomes a mindset. It's a prosperous, abundant mind thinks that, this isn't it. There's more out there. There's got to be more out there for me. But the number one thing is I must start stepping into it today. Whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, or an hour a day. Don't live in this. Unfortunately, it's this what if. It's this someday I will. When I have this, it's like, don't do that. You're living in a fantasy. Visionaries live in the now. They submit to the now. They live in the today. And they're like, hey, I can't achieve everything today, but I can surely start. And I think that's the greatest quality that a visionary has, is they take action in the immediate day. They work with what they got, and they don't wait for someday to create and to unfold and to bust out. They're just like, this is what I got today, and this is how I'm going to start, and I'm going to start to express that idea and get people on board and live into my truth, live into what I see as possible. So that's my suggestion, is if you want to cultivate the number one, to close up, the number one ingredient that visionaries have, that high achievers have, is you got to be able to illustrate what is possible and then live into that by living up to it in today, in the now. And that's going to differentiate you from most people that are waiting for life to hand them something, that are waiting for them to get some degree, to get to wait to be ordained, or to wait to have some certification, or for the world to say, hey, now you're ready, now you can do this. So a high achiever, a great visionary, an iconic legend, waits and does not need permission. They go take action because they say, hey, I don't know everything, but I'm ready to step into my truth today. And so they do not fear judgment. They fear if they don't leap and uphold and honor what's true for their potential. That's what they fear, is they fear themselves, and they feel the wrath of not living into their fullest best, of their highest self. And so that's what the visionary has, is the visionary is compelled, convicted, and they greatly feel the weight of what they must become today. And so they're like, shit, I gotta go. I have no choice. And I don't need permission from anyone. I don't need, a visionary, a legend is not ordained by someone. They're self-proclaimed. So they have a high ego. They're like, I could do it. This is who I am. And I have the skill sets, and this is what I got. Maybe it's not everything that I wanted it to be, and life didn't pan out how, I would have wished, but hey, this is what it is. This is what I got, and I'm going to start with this. And then from there, boom, you just bust out and you claim what is yours. It's taking ownership of your idea, the ability to sell it, step into it, and then boom, make it a reality. In layers, of course, whether it's a business, whether it's your future, whether it's a family, whether it's something that you want to, attract. It's that potential starts in today. And it does take time to assess and reflect and think about. But you have to really value who you are and explore your gifts and go live out life. And when we're just surrendering most of our time to other people or the jobs, or when we're just doing things for other people and we're living their lives, you're not living your life. And to live out your life, you're going to have to first acknowledge, holy shit, most of my time is spent building the dreams of other people. What's my dream? Right? And that's the thing, with big companies and employers, is they're building their dreams and they're just hiring you to build their dreams. Nothing against being employed, but that's kind of like the psychology of these leaders, they decided, to fulfill a vision, to create something, and they need support. And that's great. And we can support them, but the more important question to a high achiever is what can you build? And can you get other people to support you? And what does that look like? It begins, so you need to have a very clearly a clear illustration of what the future looks like for you or can look like. And then finally, how it will be. To be able to hold that in your vision, in your imagination, in your prayers, in your meditation, in your vision on a daily, consistent, repetitive vision, so much so that it gets embedded into your subconscious that this is possible. So that you become inspired and that you live inspired. And you're moved and you're highly energized by this idea, by this vision, by this possibility. So now you're living in what's possible, what could be, versus what I don't have, what I'm missing, what I'm lacking, how messed up this world is. So you're rejecting all the void and the emptiness, and now you're stepping into what could be if I change my mind, what could be if I start meditating and focusing on, on newer, higher developed versions of me. And then that will energize you. So that's all I have for today. I kind of went on a deeper rant, but hey, it's Monday, and I hope that you start to, cultivate this quality of becoming a visionary and then proclaiming, professing, and living into it fully, embodying it.